Hello everybody. Today I'm taking you with me in my daily, not daily, but one of my routine exercises that I do quite regularly to keep my basic flying skill alive, at least the one that can be practiced, trained or practiced with a PC-based flight simulator. There are of course limits to this activity. I do my best to take the most out of it. So I use different kind of airplanes, not always the 737. Today we use the 737. In reality, it doesn't matter what aircraft one uses because the basic flying skills are the same in pretty much any kind of aircraft, as long as it has IFR capability, then it's suitable. Sometimes I use a Phenom 300, sometimes I use a King Air 350, sometimes I use even an Airbus 350. All I'm asking for is a good flight model. That's all. And decent avionic that it can effectively be used to practice IFR. The more conventional it is, the better, because conventional avionic require good instrument scanning and proper aircraft setup or a classic airplane setup. Some airplanes have automatics that cannot be disabled, and I try to use as little automatics as possible, so to have to use my own skills, because that's the purpose of my exercises, is to exercise my own skills. So automatics in this environment, in this context, are an enemy, and I don't want to have them. So I have quickly prepared the 737 out of Minneapolis to take on runway 1 to right. Usually I get airborne and then I invent exercises in the shape of aerial maneuvers to begin with. So I go to some 10,000 feet and start turning left, right, climb, descent, given speed, given rate, given bank angle. This is a pure stick and rudder instrument flying skill exercise, and then from there I intercept I don't know, radials or bearings to VORs or NDBs, RDMA, usually into an ILS. 2976, I remember the QNH was. We are in United States, so we have to use that. 2976. All right, so what are we gonna do today? Take off runway 1 to right at 1,000 feet from the ground, which is basically, say, 2,000 feet indicated. I'll turn right, intercept the radial 210. Actually, I'm going to go on a heading 210. Heading, okay, let's say radial outbound 210 until 25 miles. Then I'll turn inbound, intercept whatever radial inbound. Actually, no. Once we are on radial 210 established, we'll start some exercise. It will level off at 10,000 feet. So we climb turning and descend turning in a specific fashion. I'll tell you exactly how and for what reason. So heading will be mandated, bank angles, rate of climb, rate of descent, headings. Every parameter that I can think of will be fixed so that we exercise flying those parameters. And everything will be done on instruments, so there will be no peeking outside at any time except 100 feet before the minima, which is not going to be set here. It's not the official minima. It's just 200 feet from the ground. That would be the minimum. I use the radial altimeter to do that. So that's it. So let's get into the air. Parking brake is already released. Yep, it's released now. I check flaps. I check trim. Is the only thing I really care about is flaps and trim. Speed brakes are stowed. Recall. Nothing there. Let me put some, yeah, the lights, star switches. I don't care about any of these. just for fun. I don't care about lights and star switches and any of that. It's totally irrelevant to me. But since it doesn't cost me anything, then I also keep it a little bit realistic. But really, it's not about procedure, it's not about SOP at all. It's only about flying skills, IFR, instrument, and flat pad management skills. So the wind is headwind a little bit from the right, maybe 5 to 10 knots. So I'm gonna stabilize the engines at pretty much 40. In this particular simulation of 7.3 you have to add some more to have 40. Okay, that's okay. So obviously there is never gonna be any autopilot, no flight director, no auto throttle. Otherwise, if we use flight director, then it's a waste of time. It's an utter waste of time. 80 knots.
80 knots.
Checked.
V1. Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up. Gear is coming up. So now I only pitch
400.
to kill the trend vector, whatever pitch it takes. At 1800 I'm gonna turn right.
1000.
Yeah, now, and accelerate at the same time. Flaps 1. The bank angle has to be 25. Flaps up. And I'm going to accelerate to 240 knots. Sometimes I don't use bugs, like speed bugs in this case, to make it a little bit more difficult. Reducing thrust a little because I don't want to have too an extreme of rate climb. See what we got. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm going to intercept the radial 210 outbound. This should do. Consider that I'm only 4 miles, 4.5 miles from the VOR. Okay. So now my objective is to trim the aircraft so that if I let go, it just flies where I want it to fly in terms of speed. So 3000 to 3, 2000 to 2, 1000 to 1. So I start reducing my pitch to control my rate of climb, and of course consequently I need to reduce thrust, not to let the speed to run away, obviously. I mean, obviously to any real pilot listening, maybe not so obviously to any system operator listening. The children, the infamous children of the magenta line. Okay, we got the radial 210. We're gonna go for 1000 feet per minute now. Okay, let's stabilize. Yep, 1000 feet to go. Even 1500 is more than acceptable. I like it. Something between 1000 and 1500 feet a minute. It's fine. It doesn't have to be precise. I only want something manageable. Alright. I could even stop my head tracking system so that the view doesn't move anymore after takeoff flow. After takeoff flow. Okay. All right. So I have a voice activated software that does a series of action when I request them. I request it to do so. It simulates like a partner in the flight deck, a co-pilot, if you will, that takes care of all things that I don't care about, which is like this after takeoff stuff. All right, just to set the aircraft for the next phase of flight. So now I'm hands off, and the aircraft is on altitude, on speed, and on radial. And now I can think about exercises. What do I want to do? So the heading bug, I don't care. We can put it there, but it doesn't matter really. So what I want to do now is to fly to heading 030, turning left or right. And I want to do it climbing, and I want to do it at 1,000 feet a minute. And then when I get to the heading, I will level off to whatever altitude. Then I'll invert the exercise. If I turn left, I'll turn right, descending at 1,000 feet a minute back to 210. And if I've been consistent, catching the heading and catching the altitude should happen more or less at the same time. Okay, so let's do it so that you can see what I mean with that. Of course, I need to keep a given bank angle and a given speed. Alright, so I stop my head tracking system so that view doesn't move anymore. I'm gonna go left 1,000 feet a minute. Okay, 25 degrees of bank. I have exceeded 1,000 feet a minute briefly, so I'm going to go a bit less just for a moment, and now back to 1,000 feet a minute. Okay, 25 degrees of bank, 1,000 feet a minute, 240 knots. Yep. So this is the exercise. I need to be precise on the rate of climb, on the speed, on the bank angle, and keep an eye on my heading because I don't want to overshoot the parameter, which is 030. Precision is the name of the game. We are three-quarter through the turn. If there has been a deviation, then I can momentarily deviate on the opposite side, like with the rate of descent, rate of climb, and bank angle as well. But so far, pretty much on the parameter, speed, rate of climb, bank angle, they are kind of perfect. So 10 degrees to go. I'm gonna start leveling off my wings, and then I reached 11,700, 11,800. So down, power, reduce power, find a pitch that gives me the rate of descent that I want. That's the pitch. So is the picture, good bank angle, good rate of descent. All I have to do is to keep the picture. If you look at the little square in the middle of the ADI, that's the picture. Keep it there. Speed is good, rate of descent is great, bank angle. We're almost halfway through the turn. The target is heading to 10. 3/4. Speed require a little adjustment. Okay, time to level off both pitch and roll. Add thrust, and altitude and heading were attained exactly at the same time. Speed is perfect, altitude and heading perfect. All right, so this exercise is complete. Now we continue outbound. We said 25 miles, so we have 24. We can have a quick look at what we have done so far. So you can say 1,000 feet turn, intercept 210, one turn to the left, one turn to the right. And now what we are going to do, we intercept whatever radial we are at now. We are 186-ish. So we're going to turn inbound, and then we intercept whatever radial inbound. So let's go. Once we are on the radial, we're going to start descending. In fact, we can start now. Oops. We're going to go down to 4,000 feet. And we'll try and do, I haven't done any calculation, but I think 1,000 feet a minute should do. My goal is to, once I'm inbound, I'm going to intercept a 15 DME arc. And then I'll fly the 15 DME arc until that takes us into the localizer. So we're descending now at 1,000 feet a minute, 25-degree bank angle, turning right to intercept whatever radial inbound. Now we are in the radial 200-ish, but that doesn't matter. All right. So that's it. So we fly this radial inbound. That's 200. So we are exactly 25 miles. So we have 10 miles to go before to be on the arc. So what I want, oh yeah, let me re-enable. 110.3 ILS. Okay. And the course inbound is 121, 110.3. So we got 121. That's it. So we're ready. Again, I'm gonna stop my truck IR, which is this head tracking system, so that the view is a bit more stable. Alright. I'm pretty much flying hands off, because if you trim the aircraft properly, then it's really much easier. So 20.7 miles to go. At 18, I'll turn to intercept. One mile to the turn. 18 miles is just a ballpark figure. There you go. 18. Turning to get into the arc. 15 DME arc, which is pretty standard. Again, 25-degree bank angle, 1,000 feet a minute rate of descent. The stability of the parameter is very important. Not only how precise the number is, but also the stability of the parameter. All right. So we are 15.6 or 0.3 of a mile to be officially in the arc. So I'm going to keep this aperture. I'll need it. We're 0.1 of a mile to be officially in the arc. Now we are officially in the arc. You are when you are within 0.3 of a mile. I'll keep on reducing the number because, of course, while 0.3 is acceptable, my target is 0.0, obviously. 0.1, time to turn on the opposite. Point 0. Now I have what I want to have, so I need to put the bearing pointer exactly abeam. It's not exactly abeam what I always want, depends on the wind. The wind is now pushing me slightly in, so I should keep it a little bit behind me probably. I'll try with the beam because the wind component is not much and see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll react accordingly. So I need this bearing pointer to go here, and when it's 10 degrees before, I'll turn into the localizer. At the moment, this bank angle seems to keep the bearing pointer abeam, and the bearing pointer abeam seems to keep the DME correct. Now I'm flying hands off, so I can distract myself. What's the temperature? 14. I don't need engine anti-ice. Of course, that's irrelevant, but it's just not to get into any wrong habit. 15.1, so I need to decrease this number, so I want the bearing pointer to be in front of me rather than behind me. Okay, in the meantime, I'm coming up to 4,000 feet. 15.0 is what I have now. So wings level, ready to level off. And add power, add thrust, actually, and level off at 4,000 feet. Good DME, good bearing pointer, good speed, decreasing, so I add some thrust, good altitude. Everything is looking magnificent. 5.1, so obviously I have to keep the bearing pointer lightly in front of my nose to stay on parameters. Obviously 15.1 is a great parameter, but I want it to be perfect if at all possible. 15.0. Alright, so we're at 4,000 feet. There is our ILS becoming active. What I can do now, once I stabilize the aircraft perfectly, I can go here real quick, insufficient fuel, whatever, and choose flap 30, fuel on board 600, 700 kilos, that's not much. Alright, enough to land before we starve. So let's go to 100 knots now. So engine to idle. Let's keep our altitude, our DME. Let's kill the speed trend vector. That's a piece of automotion that I wish I could get rid of, but of course it's part of the avionics, so I can't. So this speed trend vector, it is something that is a great aid to control the aircraft, and it's an enemy because it substitutes my ability to judge the speed tendency by myself. So everything which is automatic is an enemy of training, is an enemy of skill development and maintenance. I don't want possibly any. That's why I prefer old-fashioned full analog aircraft to do these exercises. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, now it's 10 degrees to go. Time to turn inbound, and it's time to add some flaps. Flaps 1. A bit late on that localizer because I was talking, and a little excursion in altitude. Within 300 feet it's acceptable, but of course my aim is always 0. It's more important to be super smooth than be super precise, except of course unacceptable variation. So if I'm exceeding the 300 feet altitude, then I rather be aggressive. But as long as I'm within 300 feet altitude, for example, of 10 degrees of heading and 10 knots of speed, if I'm within those parameters, then my priority is to be smooth and to not have excess rate of climb, excess rate of descent, excess bank angle, or excess speed trend vectors. So I want to make my variation very, very smooth and be as precise as possible. So within good parameters, priority is on being smooth. When I'm coming close or exceeding acceptable parameters, then it's better to be aggressive. Okay, so I'm hands off, got perfect speed, localizer is good. I'm in the stabilized on the localizer. The glide is alive. So I want also to keep an eye on distance and altitude in a sort of a gross error check. So distance time 3 plus the 900 feet of the airdrome elevation, basically. Now it's 11, 3 plus 8, yeah, for 1 it's perfect. Flaps 5. Let's stabilize on this lock and glide. Okay, my goal is now to stabilize as much as possible. Okay. So that I can focus also on the localizer. Okay. I'll put the gear down and the rest a little earlier than I would normally do, because I'm single pilot, IFR, IMC. It's complicated, so better be conservative. A little, not too much. Gear down, flaps 15. Flaps 30. Controlling the pitch now, it's very important. It tends to give me a great deal of ballooning. And now that I have everything, the name of the game is to stabilize. Landing checklist. Landing checklist. So I have speed brake, landing gear, flaps, and the go around altitude 4000 is okay. Now the name of the game is to stabilize as much as possible.
Thousand feet, stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
So I start looking at the radial altimeter when it says like 400 or 300, and then gonna look outside and try not to screw it from there.
500.
Okay, this would be a good time to look outside. And continue a little bit more. Okay, this is a good time. That is the runway. Important not to make any abrupt maneuver at this point.
300. 200. 100.
Continue.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Idle. Okay. Nose down, reversers.
$80 knots.
Alright. Left is clear, right is clear. After landing flow. Okay. While the co-pilot is cleaning up the aircraft and preparing to dock, we can just stop here and analyze the flight. Of course, we have memory of what we have done so far, so we can immediately self-critique. So here it is again. Take off 1,000 feet, turn right, intercept 210. From this view, you can see how straight the lines are and how consistent the turns are. So this is the radial 210, and then a left turn to heading 040, climbing with 1,000 feet a minute, and then descending to the same 210 this time heading, and then right to intercept inbound or radial, whatever it was, and then at 80 miles turn left to intercept the 50 in the AME arc, and you can see the consistency of the arc. And then there was this little overshoot because I was distracted by something else that I was telling you. And this, you see the localizer, and if you want to see the other view, so 1 to right, this is how good the glide slope was kept. That's the glide slope there. As long as within this light gray, then it's good. I can do better than that, but yeah, it was okay. That's 1 dot or half a dot. So and then landing. So to my standard, I would say more than satisfactory. Overshoot here, and then glide slope could have been better. But I would say very good, if not excellent. Sometimes I do better, but usually if I don't have to talk and I can just focus, then I definitely do better. Okay, so that's the exercise. I do it to practice stick and rudder, which is the ability to manipulate controls so that to get a smooth response of the aircraft, so that the movement of the controller has to be proportional, progressive, and smooth. Then there is flight path management, which means to choose pitch, roll, and thrust in order to obtain an output that is exactly what I want and what I declared in terms of heading, rate of descent, altitude, speed, and bank angle. And then there is IFR skills, which is the ability to set the aircraft to shoot an approach, have constant awareness, spatial awareness of where I am in the world, knowing exactly where to turn, when to begin a turn, when to roll out from a turn, which direction to go to intercept what, and always have this mental picture of where I am, where I need to go, and what I need to do in order to fly an instrument procedure, precision or non-precision, to the greatest possible standard. All of this without autopilot, without flight director, without auto throttle, and keeping parameters that have to be declared as precisely as possible. In all of this, the management of the aircraft is irrelevant. Procedures are completely irrelevant because they have nothing to do with piloting. They have a lot to do with management and operation of a complex system according to specified rules imposed by the operator. But that's not what I'm doing here at all. Not that it's not important, it's just not what I'm doing here. Okay, so I hope you have built an idea of what I do and why, and I hope you also enjoyed it, and I hope it wasn't boring. Thank you very much for flying with me. See you next time. Bye bye.